2,000 years ago, Roman legions marched into northern Britain and established a fortress at the confluence of two rivers. They called it Eboracum. Vikings conquered it and renamed it Jórvík. The English knew it as York. For 2 millennia, this city has stood at the crossroads of British history, a place where emperors died, kings were crowned, and the fate of nations was decided. From Roman headquarters to Viking capital, from medieval religious center to modern heritage city, York has witnessed everything: invasions and coronations, plagues and prosperity, siege and celebration. The city's streets hold layers of history literally beneath your feet. Roman walls stand beside Viking remains, medieval buildings tower over both, and modern life flows around them all. Today, advanced AI technology allows us to transform archaeological discoveries, historical records, and surviving monuments into photorealistic recreations, bringing York's extraordinary 2,000-year journey back to life. Join me as we experience the entire history of York, from Roman fortress to Viking stronghold to medieval jewel, discovering why this city became one of Britain's most important places and how it survived when so many others disappeared. Eboracum, Rome's northern fortress, 71 to 410 AD. It's 71 AD, and the 9th Legion arrives at the confluence of the River Ouse and River Foss, building a wooden fortress on raised ground. This is Eboracum, and it will become one of Roman Britain's most important cities. The location is strategic, controlling river crossings and roads north, serving as the base for campaigns into Caledonia. Watch the fortress transform over decades. The wooden walls are rebuilt in stone. The fortress grows into a major military base covering 50 acres, housing 5,000 legionaries. Barracks, headquarters, granaries, and workshops fill the interior. Outside the fortress walls, a civilian settlement, Cannabe, develops. Merchants, craftsmen, tavern keepers, and families creating a town serving the military. Walk through Eboracum in 200 AD and see a prosperous Roman city. Stone buildings line streets laid out in typical Roman grid pattern. The fortress contains baths, temples, and an impressive headquarters building. The civilian town has its own bathhouse, shops, and temples to Roman and British gods. The bridge across the Ouse connects both sides of the settlement, channeling trade and movement. In 211 AD, something extraordinary happens here. Emperor Septimius Severus dies in York after campaigning in Scotland, making this the only place outside Rome where a reigning emperor died. His son Caracalla is proclaimed emperor here, briefly making York the capital of the entire Roman Empire. For a moment, the center of Western civilization is this city on Britain's northern edge. Constantine the Great is proclaimed emperor in York in 306 AD. His mother Helena supposedly lives here, and York claims association with one of Rome's greatest rulers, the emperor who legalized Christianity and transformed the empire. The city's importance is undeniable. 2 emperors died here, another was proclaimed here. But Rome's grip weakens. By 400 AD, legions are withdrawn to defend Rome itself against Germanic invasions. In 410, Rome abandons Britain. The soldiers leave, the administration collapses, and Eboracum begins a slow decline into whatever comes next. The Dark Ages, Survival and Transformation, 410 to 866 AD. The centuries after Rome's withdrawal are murky. York doesn't disappear, but it shrinks dramatically. The great stone buildings fall into disrepair. The population declines. Yet people remain. The city's location is too strategic, its infrastructure too valuable to abandon completely. By 600 AD, York is an Anglo-Saxon settlement, part of the Kingdom of Northumbria. Edwin, King of Northumbria, is baptized here in 627, establishing York as a Christian center. The city gets its Anglo-Saxon name, Eoforwic, evolving into York. In 735, York becomes an archbishopric, establishing religious authority that continues today. The first York Minster is built, nothing like the grand cathedral that will replace it, but significant nonetheless. York becomes a center of learning. The scholar Alcuin, educated at York's Cathedral School, becomes advisor to Charlemagne, spreading York's intellectual influence across Europe. Look at York in 800 AD and see a town of perhaps 10,000 people, timber buildings clustered inside deteriorating Roman walls, the minster dominating the skyline. It's a shadow of Roman Eboracum's grandeur, but it survives, adapts, remains important in a changed world. Jórvík. The Viking capital, 866 to 1066 AD. November 1st, 866, the great heathen army arrives. Danish Vikings led by Ivar the Boneless capture York, ending Anglo-Saxon control. They rename it Jórvík, and it becomes capital of an independent Viking kingdom. Stand in Jórvík's streets in 920 and witness a transformed city. The Vikings rebuild, creating a thriving trading port. Longships crowd the Ouse, bringing furs from Scandinavia, silver from Arabia, slaves from raids, and trade goods from across the known world. The city becomes one of Europe's major trading centers, its population swelling to perhaps 15,000. Walk through the Coppergate district. This is what archaeologists will excavate 1,000 years later, finding remarkably preserved Viking York buried in layers of mud. Watch craftsmen in timber workshops creating leather goods, metalwork, jewelry, and combs from antler. The smell is overwhelming. Leather tanning creates a stench that permeates everything, mixed with smoke from constant fires, fish from the markets, and human waste in the narrow streets. The buildings are mostly timber, tightly packed with workshops on ground floors and living quarters above. The streets are narrow, unpaved, churned to mud by constant traffic. But there's prosperity here. Jórvík mints its own coins, trades internationally, and develops a distinctive culture blending Viking and Anglo-Saxon elements. Life is precarious. Diseases spread easily in the crowded, unsanitary conditions. Excavated skeletons reveal lives of hard physical labor, malnutrition, and early death. Yet Jórvík thrives for nearly 200 years, a Viking stronghold in England's heart. In 954, the last Viking king, Eric Bloodaxe, is expelled, and York becomes part of England again. But the Viking legacy endures, in street names ending in gate, from the Norse gata, meaning street, in archaeological remains, in the city's mercantile culture. Medieval York, glory and catastrophe, 1066 to 1485. The Norman conquest transforms York again. William the Conqueror faces northern rebellions and responds with terrible brutality. The harrying of the north in 1069 to 70 devastates Yorkshire, killing thousands through massacre and starvation. York suffers but survives. William builds 2 castles to control the city. One becomes Clifford's Tower. The other is destroyed. The Normans rebuild the Minster, creating England's second most important religious center after Canterbury. The Archbishop of York rules northern England's church, making York a power center. Walk through 13th century York at its medieval peak. The population reaches 15,000, making it England's second city after London. Stone walls rebuilt on Roman foundations enclose the city, punctuated by gates, the bars that still stand today. Medieval merchants build timber-framed houses, many surviving into modern times. The Shambles, the Street of Butchers, becomes one of Europe's best-preserved medieval streets. The Minster dominates everything. Construction of the current Gothic cathedral begins in 1220, continuing for 250 years. Watchmaster masons, carpenters, and glaziers create one of Christianity's greatest buildings. The Great East Window, installed in 1405, is the world's largest medieval stained glass window, as large as a tennis court, containing over 300 panels telling the story of creation to apocalypse. But medieval York has dark moments. In 1190, York's Jewish community faces a massacre. Anti-Semitic violence, fueled by crusading fervor and debts owed to Jewish moneylenders, erupts. About 150 Jews seek refuge in Clifford's Tower. Besieged by a mob, facing certain death, they choose mass suicide rather than forced conversion. It's one of medieval England's worst atrocities, a permanent stain on York's history. The Black Death arrives in 1349, killing perhaps 40% of York's population. The city recovers slowly, its economy shifting as the cloth trade moves elsewhere. Yet York remains important, politically, religiously, strategically. Tudor and Stuart York, decline and division, 1485 to 1714. The Tudor period sees York's power wane. London dominates politically and economically. York's population stagnates around 12,000. The Reformation transforms the city. Henry VIII dissolves the monasteries, destroying institutions that shaped York for centuries. The religious houses are stripped, their wealth confiscated, their buildings demolished or converted. Yet York remains strategically significant. The Council of the North, governing England's northern counties, meets here. The city becomes an administrative center, if not the economic powerhouse it once was. The Civil War divides York. The city supports King Charles I, becoming a royalist stronghold. In 1644, parliamentary forces besiege York for weeks. The city endures bombardment, starvation threatens, and desperation grows. The Battle of Marston Moor, fought 7 miles away on July 2, 1644, seals York's fate. Parliamentary forces win decisively, and York surrenders. The war devastates the city's economy without destroying its fabric. Georgian and Victorian transformation, 1714 to 1901. York reinvents itself in the 18th century. No longer a political or economic powerhouse, it becomes a social center for Yorkshire's gentry. They build elegant Georgian townhouses, creating fashionable assembly rooms where polite society gathers. The city beautifies itself, attracting wealthy residents seeking culture without London's chaos. The railway transforms everything. When George Hudson, the railway king, makes York a railway hub in the 1840s, the city explodes with growth. The York Railway Station opens in 1877, one of Britain's grandest stations. Railway engineering works employ thousands. The population doubles, reaching 70,000 by 1900. Victorian York builds extensively. New suburbs spread beyond medieval walls. Rowntrees establishes its chocolate factory, becoming one of York's largest employers. The company pioneers welfare capitalism, providing workers with decent housing, healthcare, and education. The model village of New Earswick demonstrates that industry needn't mean exploitation. Modern York, heritage and renewal, 1901 to present. The 20th century brings both challenge and preservation. World War II bombing damages York, though not as severely as some cities. The Baedeker raid in April 1942 targets historic cities, killing 92 people and damaging historic buildings. The Guildhall is destroyed, the railway station damaged, but the Minster survives. Post-war York faces choices: demolish and modernize, or preserve and adapt. The city chooses preservation. Medieval buildings are restored, not demolished. The city center becomes a pedestrian-friendly heritage zone. Tourism becomes a major industry. 5 million visitors annually explore York's 2,000-year history. Stand in York today and see extraordinary continuity. Roman walls enclose a medieval core. Viking streets keep their Norse names. Georgian terraces border Victorian suburbs. Yet it's a living city, not a museum. Universities, businesses, residents creating contemporary life amid ancient history. York's story is remarkable not for any single moment, but for its continuity. For 2 millennia, this city has mattered as Roman headquarters, Viking capital, medieval religious center, railway hub, heritage destination. It survived when other cities disappeared, adapting to each era while preserving its past. Walk York's medieval streets and you're literally walking on history. Roman remains lie beneath your feet, Viking artifacts buried deeper still. Medieval buildings tower above, all layers of a city that refused to become irrelevant. York teaches us that cities survive by adapting while remembering. The Romans left walls that medieval builders maintained and modern city planners preserve. Vikings created street patterns still used today. Medieval craftsmen built a cathedral that took 250 years to complete and still dominates the skyline. Each generation added to York without destroying what came before. This was York, Eboracum, Jórvík, York, a city where emperors died and kings were crowned, where Romans, Vikings, Normans, and English all left their mark, creating layers of history visible in every street. If you enjoyed this journey through 2,000 years, please hit the subscribe button so you don't miss where we're going next. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the past.